you mentioned you got a newborn, and you've been waking up and up all hours of the night. So what we all had to do during those times is find yourself a TV show that you can binge, because sometimes you're going to get up and not be able to get back to sleep, or sometimes the baby's not going to want to get back to sleep right away. So you gotta have a way to entertain yourself. For you, that has been Billions. And so I watched all of the Billions episodes as they aired. So I'm about a year out from the last one I've seen. They had the season get stopped because of the pandemic, and they actually squeezed a mention of the pandemic into the last episode that aired. But you wanted to do a random ranking, and I wholeheartedly agreed, of Billions characters.
Yeah, and I've binged this entire show in 3-4 weeks here. And by the way, your listeners, I would love if they'd send me a show that I should jump onto next. Sopranos has kind of been on the list for a long time as the one I still haven't got to.
Ooh, that's a good thought.
So that may be the move. But if anybody has any good, like, hey, here's an hour-long show that it's worth the putting a whole month into it, basically, let me know.
And you've seen all the newer ones, like the Queen's Gambit and all those, right?
I haven't seen Queen's Gambit still.
Oh, you got to watch Queen's Gambit. You will have a new. You never realized chess could be that exciting.
Yeah, that's one of those where I wasn't all that into the trailer, but then everybody says it's just the greatest thing on Netflix. So I need to get to that.
Oh, it's tremendous. But let's talk Billions. Let's move back to Showtime and talk Billions. Brian Koppelman, the creator, obviously the writer of Rounders, and this is a guy who kind of dove into the world of high finance and hedge funds, and it's one of those shows that they got a little red meat for everybody, but. So I had us do a top 5, and I thought, as I'm doing it, I realized, wow, I am light on main characters on this one, because I just love the supporting cast so much. And I think that's a good sign, though. I think when you got a show where the people who only get, say, 2 or 3 minutes of screen time an episode really jump out and become beloved characters, I think you're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm sure we could go through. Maybe we will at the end go through the honorable mention list, because it's a long one for this show. But there's the cast of people that are just my favorites. But then there's also, like, with this show, there's a couple characters that, like, anytime they show up, you're excited, and especially with Billions, anytime Chuck Sr. is ended up losing something, just being a total loser. Because he never wins.
I hate him so much,
and he's so easy to hate. But every time he loses, which is every time, I enjoy it. And same with the guy who almost, like, who comes close to making my top 5, and he's not even a great character, but he's just my favorite. Probably is Spiros, because every time he's on, it is everyone dunking on him. It seemed like the Mensa episode in this last season was really good.
When he wore the
Spiros is
special
on,
driving outfit for his new car.
But the idea to put him at Axe Capital and not the SEC was just brilliant. And just the way that those guys treat him, while horrible, is amazing. It's one of my favorite things in the whole show.
All right, so let's start at number 5. What is your number 5?
My number 5, I'm going to go Taylor Mason.
Okay.
I think that, first of all, they're one of the most interesting characters on TV, period. I think that's one of those, you watch the show and you're just like, nobody else could play this character like Asia Kate Dillon does. Like, it's just, I think the killer instinct, the ultra analytical personality. I enjoy that. I think they give them some of the best writing on the show.
I think Taylor is one of the most important characters. I actually have Taylor higher, because I don't think the narrative arc of the last 3 seasons works without Taylor.
Correct.
Because the push pull of, this is something that I am great at, that I was born for, but morally I have a huge issue with it, is kind of the push pull of the show. It's the whole push pull of the show. So,
well, and to start them off, with the like the poker episode as kind of the big introduction to them, I think was just brilliant. It just makes all of us, because these are the guys that made Rounders. So we're all immediately suckers for this character and just what a badass they are. And so, in fact, I'm going to flip that. I'm going to put Taylor at 4. I've been kind of debating 4 or 5. But that's, I just, again, like.
So who's your new number 5?
You're right. All right. So I'll put Wags at 5.
I have Wags higher too.
I'm sure you do.
Wags is Axe's Bobby Axelrod. Bobby Axelrod is the main character played by Damian Lewis. He is the hedge fund manager who basically got the capital for his hedge fund by shorting airline stocks on 9/11, and that's sort of the narrative seed of the show and where a lot of the initial conflict comes from. But so I actually have Axe as number 5.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling you, the main character, like, you will not see Chuck in my top 5 at all. I hate Chuck. No. I have huge problems with Chuck. Like, there is no way in real life Chuck marries Wendy or Wendy marries Chuck.
No.
Because Chuck
was never really explained, honestly.
Chuck is a schlub who's propelled by his daddy the whole way. Like, and obviously we know why this is the way it is, because Paul Giamatti's an amazing actor, and attaching himself to this show is probably how it got made. But I'm sorry, there's just I don't. That's the part I don't. It's
very satisfying when Jock and Connerty finally knock him out of office, and to me it was very satisfying when Wendy divorced him. Honestly, like, that's just he's one of the main characters, but it's just hard to. I mean, Giamatti's incredible in this show, but I can't imagine people watch all 5 seasons of this or 4.5 seasons of this and at the end of it say, I'm Team Chuck.
Yeah, I mean, that person, that character,
maybe there are a lot of people that feel that way. I could be just different on this. It's just,
that's not because he's kind of a fail son. So how would he be a worthy adversary for Axe or a worthy partner for Wendy? That's my biggest issue there.
Well, and this is why I got to bump up Taylor too, because you're right. The entire season of Axe versus Taylor is some of the best stuff. I mean, it really is. And if you, without introducing that character, what are we doing for, season 3, 4, 5 here, basically? I just think.
So that's why I just don't think, I don't think you have as good of a show without Taylor. I think you could get rid of Chuck and still have a really good show.
Who's worse for you, Chuck or Axe's ex-wife, Lara?
Well, I think they shuttled off Malin Ackerman pretty quick.
They did.
Because I think they felt like that wasn't adding much to the equation. And making, giving Axe sort of a romantic void, I think helps. I think that gives him, and, increases the tension between him and Wendy, which was obviously there in the first place. So
sure.
So I had Axe number 5 just because the show obviously revolves around him, and I think Damian Lewis does a good job of being the center of that. And I want to give Damian Lewis some props just because I loved Life. If you have not seen the series Life, it was one of those casualties of the writer's strike back in the early 2000s. But the plot is he was a police detective. He was accused of a crime he didn't commit and convicted of a crime he didn't commit. He gets it overturned. He wins a massive lawsuit and becomes independently wealthy as a result of the lawsuit. And all he wants, as part of the other part of him winning the lawsuit, is he wants his job back. So they give him his job back and he gets a new partner. It's a great show. And it only ran for
what channel
season.
was this on?
I don't even know channels. I think it was on ABC. I'm pretty sure it was ABC, but yeah, it was. If you have not seen Life, it was one season. It was a very good show. My number 4 is Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill has a secret family, gets outed for having a secret family. He's like, I don't care. They try to blackmail him for it. He's like, don't care. Tell my wife. Doesn't matter.
That's the moment that makes the character is. What do they bust him on, Andy? He's got 2 minivans. Exactly. Why would anyone have 2 minivans?
Well, and the best part is he makes so much money, he could have 2 Maseratis or two Ferraris, but he has 2 minivans because he doesn't care about the money. He just cares about winning.
That moment and the way he just sends off a quick letter to his wives explaining what the deal is and telling them I'm Kaiser Soze. And then he maintains the marriages the rest of the series.
That's incredible. It doesn't affect
Absolutely
him
incredible.
at all.
He has his ups and downs, his emotional ups and downs in the show. Dollar Bill's number 2 for me, because he's just a legend. And I'm sure probably people feel that way about Wags. I'm sure a lot of people, Wags is number 1 for them. I think I kind of, and Wags is a little bit weaker here in season 5 than he was early on. But Dollar Bill is just incredible. The chicken episode is ridiculous. He's one of the greats.
The Maffei boxing match.
That's so stupid. But just the whole deal of I am not uncertain is just fantastic with him.
It's great. So, who was your number 3?
My number 3 is Wendy.
Okay, my number 2 is Wendy, and this is part of why her character is so interesting. Mm-hmm. It just makes me mad that she was with Chuck. Like that. That's why, because she's an MD. She's incredibly successful. She has gotten herself, hooked into this hedge fund where they basically rely on her for everything. She's one of the most important people in the building. Mm-hmm. So that's why I don't understand why she's hooked in with this dude who's being yanked along by Daddy. But Maggie Siff does a great job with this character. And look, Maggie Siff is good at playing this kind of character where a very complicated, where she's a very smart, powerful woman in a complicated relationship. Because if you saw Sons of Anarchy, similar deal. Doctor married to the head of a biker gang. So,
well, and we just rewatched Mad Men at the start of the pandemic, and she has a little brief kind of season in that.
But in the first season,
even in that small role, she's fantastic. No, she is truly the biggest badass of the whole show. She really is from start to finish, and is just this kind of character. I'm sure we'd all love to, work for, right, and have sort of breaking you down and building you up all the time and stuff. She's fantastic, and I think her arc is just perhaps the best arc on the whole show. I mean, they knocked it out of the park with casting Maggie Siff, and she just plays all of the stuff that Wendy brings to the table phenomenally.
Well, and so I said Taylor, and Taylor was my number 3, and Taylor is the biggest narrative driver at work, and Wendy is the biggest personal narrative driver. And like when Chuck reads her files and then uses that, I mean, what a betrayal. What a betrayal.
Yeah. What a betrayal.
So, I mean, it's a,
well, and then of course we haven't mentioned, but the old Overton window speech, I mean, that's probably number 1 on the betrayal list there on the show. But, no, it's she's the best. She's the best. And they, I'm sure there are probably a lot of people that watch this show and say, forget Chuck and Axe, she's the favorite character. And I wouldn't blame you.
So my number 1 is Wags.
Okay.
He's just, because every stupid thing they get involved in is because of Wags.
Yes.
Every stupid rich guy trope that they do, like the bird they eat where they have to put the thing over their head.
the shame cloth
it's
over your
always
head.
Wags. Yes. So I love that he's always getting them into and out of these messes.
Yes. Yeah, and that's that's another one where you think that actor, the last thing I probably saw him in was Gail Bedecker in Breaking Bad. Very different.
Gail
character.
was probably his most famous role. He was also in Lost, and David Costabile is his name, and that was my first exposure to him. I think was Lost, and he was a good character there because it was one of those where you didn't ever really quite know where he's coming from. Now you always know where Wags is coming from, but he's just having so much fun playing him.
No, they let him live the most insane life of anybody on the show. Even in this most recent season.
He was the managing editor in season 5 of The Wire too.
Oh wow, you're right. Those newspaper episodes. We sure love that arc, don't we, Andy?
Yes. Well, David Simon had to get his shots in at the end at his old industry.
He did. They let him just do the most insane stuff. He's also probably does he lead the show in references, you think, or does Axe?
Absolutely. Now, I think the references I could actually do with fewer. And
I watched the show with subtitles for that reason, man. Like, there's just so many things they're dropping every minute.
I'm a person who likes references, but I feel like they explain too many of their references. That's what bothers me. It's not the references themselves. It's the explanation.
When you go so obscure that then you have to explain it to the the audience.
Like when you have to squeeze 3 lines of dialogue in a tailor's mouth to explain what somebody else just said, like it kind of kills the momentum. So I that would be my only critique is explain your references less. Everybody's got their phone; they can Google it as you go.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to pause though and try and look these up. I just didn't even really do it over the course of binging the show, but you could. I think there's probably websites devoted to a glossary of everything they've said on this.
Exactly, of billions of references.
No, they give him
your number one, by the way.
My number one was Axe.
Okay,
and that's
all right.
I just think over the course of the show, and a lot of shows put you through this, right? Like you watch Breaking Bad and you get hooked into pulling for Walt no matter what, right? That's kind of how I am with Axe at this point, and maybe that's because Chuck is the adversary.
I turn against Walt after I am the man who knocks, or I am the one who knocks.
Sure.
So,
yeah, of course. You're supposed to be challenged in that fandom over the course of the show. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But
never turned on Jesse, though.
Nor should you. But maybe because Chuck is the adversary, it makes it so much easier to go Team Axe throughout the show. But I just think Damon Lewis is phenomenal. I think the character, obviously, super flawed character, but just the killer instinct and the way the showdowns he has over the course of the show, the way that he always has a fix to get out of trouble, always has some lever he can pull to escape. Like that's going to continue to be the whole point of the show. Is someday they will catch him, but for now, you don't want to see it happen because he's just he's fantastic, and that's it's hard not to be on the side of Axe Capital. I think when you watch the show,
and it's educational. I mean, when the GameStop thing happened, I already knew what a short squeeze was because I'd seen it on Billions.
Because you saw it, it ruined his. Who did you go see? Metallica.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. No, that's like episode 4 or whatever of the whole show. They explain short squeeze. So it is educational. Not to say I have, some portfolio now after watching the show or anything, but
no, I don't think that's a good idea to use it as investment advice, but I am going to go drink some ice juice after this show.
Where's Ira on the list for you? Because he's pretty close to the 5 for me. That poor guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now he's as loyal as it gets. So, and then the lawyer / black bag
Ornbach
guy. Yeah. I mean, he's just evil. He's unbelievable.
Ornbach and Hall, you kind of have to combine them, but that duo is pretty diabolical.
Well, and like Hall is kind of just sort of morally blank.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best way to describe it. It's not. I guess he's probably a sociopath. Like, has no empathy for anyone, and just was like, "Well, I'll do this now."
It makes you an effective fixer, though. When you've got no ties, no anything.
If you want to do this, that's kind of how he presents everything. Well, if you'd like to, we can. I know a guy.
It's a great resource to have when you're Bobby Axelrod. I think the other folks that were kind of in honorable mention for me in terms of making if I'm filling out a top 10, I think Spiros, like I said, Ornbach, Sacker, Maffei, and Ira would be like some of the people who would be close to the list for me.
They could do more.
And Bruno
Sacker,
the pizza guy, obviously.
Because Sacker feels like a better foil for Axe.
Yeah. She's probably criminally underused over the course of the series,
Yeah. And Connerty is just, I do like the fact that they made him go crazy trying to kind of walk this line. But I just, the character doesn't do that much for me.
I agree, and he just went so he broke bad so hard in season 4 that it's easy to drop him down my list.
Yeah,
and,
that's why
it's all about morals or anything, but
yeah. But Sacker is the one who she's pliable enough to understand, hey, I got to play the angles here. I can't just be rigid and be one way. I've got to be like them a little bit if I want to get them.
Oh yeah, definitely one of the best, chess players of the whole show. I also got to shout out Dr. Gus. He only gets a couple episodes, but absolutely ridiculous. And what else? What else comes to mind for you here? Malkovich's appearance in the series is certainly strange but enjoyable.
Well, and there's always somebody. I like the pop-ins. I think now it's become a thing to be on the
celebrity
show.
Ones. Yeah.
Right. Mark Cuban was really proud to be, I guarantee you.
Yes.
He loved being on that show. But
they're getting as many Shark Tank people on there as they can. That's for sure.
No doubt. And so the Corey Stoll character in this most recent season, I think, could be a really good one. I like that.
You're off to a good start.
No matter what Axe does, he can't one up him. And the guy's got this squeaky clean, pristine image. There's something dark behind it, but you can't really quite get at it yet. And Corey Stoll was so good in House of Cards before House of Cards completely went off the rails. But his character in that show was fantastic. So I do think I'm very excited to see where they take that when that comes back on.
I agree. It's pretty tantalizing just the way it cut off here to do a 7-episode half season and then be shut down. Also thought Rebecca Cantu was good. I enjoyed that character over the course of season 4. As
another
a good
foil for Axe because Chuck isn't.
No, I agree. And where do you land on Judge DiGiulio?
I like him. I like the fact that he's got a nice compromise judge.
Yeah, he's good. And I have to mention Hard Bob is also on my list as a guy. Only pops up a couple times, but Hard Bob's phenomenal.
Dude, like
he
Hard
brooks
Bob,
no bullshit.
I had forgotten about Hard. It's been so long since I've seen Hard Bob.
I know.
Hard Bob's like a season 2 guy. And that Hard Bob's the one where they're
he pops up once a season to get something done. He's fantastic.
Yeah, and Clancy Brown was the senator they're trying to deal with. Or no, he was
the Jock Jeffcoat.
Secretary of the Treasury.
He was right. Krakow was the Treasury guy. Jock was over. He was over. I don't remember what the title was.
Right,
but appointed by the president.
The Secretary of the Treasury is the one who's always in on the schemes.
Yeah.
But Jeffcoat was doing his own thing, and he's the one
AG or something like that. Yeah,
he was AG. That's right. And they changed the rail lines to run the poop cars by his ranch.
Yes, the poop train parked out back is definitely one of the best one of the best chess moves of the whole series.
Well, and Clancy Brown, if you didn't watch Carnival on HBO, he was fantastic in that. But we all know Clancy Brown's greatest role. And Max, in about 6 years, you will hear so much Clancy Brown you won't be able to stand it. Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob SquarePants.
Really?
Eugene Krabs, big fan of money.
Oh my God.
Clancy Brown.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I wonder if is he still doing that a little bit? That's amazing.
They're doing spin-off type stuff. The show itself is shut down, but
Andy, I
hate
to tell you this, but I am young enough that me and my younger brothers did watch a little bit of SpongeBob back in the day. So we will, but my son will definitely be way into that.
Oh, you're going to watch a lot more. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Max Olson, it has been a pleasure. Get back to raising that kid right on Stop Rate and SpongeBob. And for the rest of you,
he watched a lot of Billions with me. I hopefully he didn't store any of that. I don't think he did. But he watched
Daddy,
a lot
what's
with
a
me.
short squeeze? Daddy, what are derivatives?